Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In previous video, we have discussed the different container controls that we have. Here in this video, we are going to discuss the input controls. What are input controls? Input controls allows user to interact with your app by entering data, selecting options and controlling how data is captured and used. This serves as the foundation for user interactions in UiPath apps. On the screen, you can see there are different input controls has been taken to get the input of user and to interact with a web application. There is a text field, then we have the checkboxes, then the radio buttons, then we have sliders and the text area, then we have the submit buttons. So those are the input controls where we actually provide the input to our web application. Let's add a new page, a blank page. We'll rename it as input control and we'll set this page as main page. So when we are going to preview this page, then the first page will open as input control only. In previous video, we have already seen the different containers. So what I'll do is I'll simply drag and drop one container layout. I can expand this one. So I can simply drag and drop different input controls we have. So we have button, checkbox, date picker, drop down, file uploader, multi-select drop down, radio button, rich text editor. You can simply drag and drop those buttons or the input controls that you actually want when you are designing your app. So this is how actually you drag and drop and make a use of input controls. So let's create one simple input form with the help of input controls. What I'll do is I'll simply drag and drop some of the input, just like the text box, then we have text box number, and another control is text box email. I'll rearrange this one. I'll simply take button below. We can rename those text areas. So here I can give the label as name. This was the text box number. So I can use the phone number. Then this was the email ID. After you have added the input controls, you can style those input controls that you are drag and drop. By clicking on the container, then you can go to the style and here you can select the position where you actually want to keep those bottom, middle, top. Then you have stretch or right or in the center. Just like this, you can style it. And if I preview this now, after I have previewed the app that I have designed, so here you can enter the name, then here you can provide the phone number, and there is a email ID. If I enter the email ID and click on submit button, then you can see we are getting one prompt called invalid email because we have used email ID text box. So in the backend, the validation is already added to this particular text area that we have dragged and dropped. So here it will accept only the valid email ID format. Suppose I have given gmail and .com. In that condition only it will accept input. And then we have the button. So this is how actually you can use the input controls to design your app. So apart from these input controls, there are many input controls we have, just like switch, slider, radio button. If I drag and drop the radio button, then you can see we have number of options available that we can use over here. When we use the radio button, then in the general properties of the radio button, you can see there is a option called list source available. So here you can click on open resources and open the expression editor. Here you can write a query just to add your fields. You can start with new list source of string, and in that one you can provide the particular input that you want to select using the radio button. So after I have previewed the page that I have designed, then you can see we have California, New York, Washington, and you can select a particular based on your choice. Even you can rename the label of the radio button. So here I'll mention the city name. So my label will be added as city name. And after you have added the input controls, even you can set the rule based on the input control that you have taken. So if I want to set a rule, after I click the button over here, so what I'll do is I'll simply create one rule, and for now I'll just use one show message. So what will happen after I click on that button, that will show over here. So in this one I can write a custom message called test button input control. Okay, and I'll click on close. And if I preview this app, now I have entered the name. Let's suppose Vinith @gmail.com, and I have selected a city. And after that I'll click on button. After I have clicked on the button, then you can see I'm getting a pop-up of message that I have already created in the rule, right? After I click on button, then I'm getting a message called test button input control. That message I already added in the rules of the button. So this is how you can actually use the different controls we have. You can use the checkboxes. Date picker is used to select different dates that you want to select. Then you have drop downs, file uploader. With the file uploader, if I drag and drop the file uploader over here, so then you can see in the general properties you can rename the label as well, file uploader. And in the general properties of the file uploader, you can see you have max file size. So you can give the max file size, like um, of how many MBs you want to upload using that file uploader, that you can provide over here. Then in the event itself you can create a rule, like when particular file is uploaded using file uploader. So in that case, if you want to store that file somewhere on the shared drive or on the Google Drive, so in that case you can use a automation workflow that you can trigger using create workflow. In the create workflow you can start process or trigger workflow from here. So in the backend your file will be added to a particular shared drive or in a storage bucket. So these are the different input controls we have in UiPath apps that you can utilize to design your app and get the input from the users. So stay tuned and thanks for watching.